everyone, welcome to the next session of finite element analysis. In this session, I am going to start with numericals on direct application of EME. In these numericals, I am going to directly give you the element matrix equation which is supposed to be used and the numerical is supposed to be solved. We'll start with the first one. First few numericals will be based on strength of materials or mechanics of solids as you would know it. Analyze the step bar given below. This is the step bar given to me. There are 3 bars over here. The first one has diameter 40 mm, second bar has diameter 15 mm and the third bar has diameter of 30 mm. The length of each bar is given to me. At one end the bar is fixed and at the other end there is a load of 15 kilonewton. The value of Young's modulus is given as 200 into 10 raised to 3 Newton per mm square. Now since there is only one value of E given, it obviously means that all the 3 bars are made of same material. Now I am going to label this one as element 1, this is my element 2 and this is my element 3. Now we are supposed to mark the nodes. So the first rule is mark the nodes on both the sides. So let me mark a node here and a node here. I am not labeling this node as of now. I'll first figure out if there are any middle nodes also possible. As you can see here, element 1 ends and element 2 starts. So there is some change of cross section geometry. So I am going to mark a node over here which is my node 2. Similarly, between element 2 and 3 there is a change of cross section, hence I am going to mark a node 3. There is no change of material and there is no sudden load given in these conditions. So these are the 2 rules applicable for discretization. Now I'll start with the solution. The step 1 which was already told to you in the previous session is discretization. Now I have already discretized the diagram as you can see over here by marking the nodes and elements, but there is still one more diagram to be made which is called as discretization diagram. Now for that I am going to use an analogy, that is, in every type of numerical that we are going to solve, we are going to compare these with electrical resistances. Like you can see, this element is a resistance for a displacement that could have happened because of this load. Similarly, this element is applying some resistance to this load and similarly this element. So in this numerical we can say that these material are trying to be in the state that they are in, that is a property of inertia, and not trying to get displaced. So they are resisting displacement is what I can say, and hence I am comparing them with an electrical circuit and I am going to mark over here for element 1 resistance 1, for element 2 there is a second resistance, and for element 3 there is a third resistance. So this is my element 1, 2, 3. Element 1 is between node 1 and 2, so I'll mark node 1, node 2. Element 2 is between node 2 and 3, so 2 and 3, and element 3 is between node 3 and 4. So this is how the discretization diagram is supposed to be made. Next we'll go for step 2, that is development of EME. EME stands for element matrix equation. For a step bar there is a separate EME, that is AE upon HE 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. You'll have U1 U2 raised to small e. The small e indicates element number. And on the right hand side I'll have P1 P2 raised to e. P1 P2 is showing the reaction forces or the load that you're applying on the body. A is indicating the cross section area of each element. E will indicate the Young's modulus of each material. HE, E is again element number and H is a length. So if I write H1, I would mean the length of the element 1. These U1, U2 are indicating displacement. Raised to E is the element number. So let me write for element 1. For element 1, that is the first element that I will have area as A1 because I need to calculate by using pi by 4 d square. E is same for all the materials, so it will just remain as E, and the length is H1. Here I have 1, minus 1, minus 1, 1. For first element, it will be U1, U2 raised to 1. and the load will be P1, P2 raised to 1. Now, there are two ways of writing these two. Suppose if I talk about node 1, it is between node 1 and 2. It is obvious that at node 1, my displacement is going to be U1. Now, for that, I am going to use capital U1. For the second node, it will be U2. For third, it will be U3. And for the fourth node, it will be U4. Similarly, load will be P1, P2, P3 and P4. So here, if I am writing for the element 1, I can either write this as capital U1, U2 over here, or I can simply write U1, U2, which is in smaller alphabets, raised to 1. Now this means that if I write it separately, this indicates the element number and this indicates its node. So this is the node number and this is the element number, and U is displacement. So for the first one, on the first node, the displacement is U1, and for the first element, the second node has displacement U2. So this is my element number and this is my node number. So first element is between node U1, U2. And if you ask me what would I do for the second element, I am going to similarly write U1, U2 raised to 2. I am not going to change it. The reason is, sometimes while writing these displacements, say for first element it is U1, U2, for second element it is U2, U3, sometimes it becomes very confusing. You cannot figure out what is to be written, or if you just forget to write or you write a wrong thing, it will be a wrong calculation that you do. So the best thing that I would prefer doing is writing this way. This means second elements, one displacement, and for the second element there is another displacement. Here 1 and 2 doesn't mean node number 1 and 2, which should be 2 and 3. I am still writing 1 and 2. It means for the second element one node, and for the second element there is another node 2. That's it. But it doesn't mean that it is between 1 and 2. It is definitely between 2 and 3. But we write it one node and other node. You can just say it is left and right. That is two nodes for the element 2. So this is how I am going to be writing for, this is how I am going to write for all the elements. So let's calculate these now. For area, it is pi by 4 d1 square. d1 is 40, so it is 40 square. The value of E is 2 into 10 raised to 3, and the length is 200. Then I have 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. I have U1 U2 raised to 1 is equal to P1 P2 raised to 1. Now I have spoken about displacement. The same meaning is applicable for the load as well. But here we still use capital alphabets, and at the end also you will observe I am using capital alphabets only. But for displacement, initially we use small alphabets, and at the end I am going to use capital alphabets for indicating the proper displacements. Now when I calculate this, I am going to get the answer as 1256.63 into 10 raised to 3. Now I am taking out 10 raised to 3 common. So what remains in the bracket is 1256.63. I am multiplying with each one of them. Here I have U1 U2 raised to 1 is equal to P1 P2 raised to 1. Now you would wonder why I have taken out 10 raised to 3 common. If you observe, these two terms are in multiplication, and on the right hand side I have the load term. The load value is given as 15 kilonewton at one point. So if it is given in kilonewton, I can write 15 into 10 raised to 3. Now when I write 10 raised to 3 over here, I can simply cancel out 10 raised to 3 from both the sides, which makes my calculation and solving very easy. Hence I have taken a 10 raised to 3 common here. Suppose if you have a 10 raised to 6, no problem. You can only cancel out 10 raised to 3. 10 raised to 3 will still remain over here in case you have 10 raised to 6. You can just multiply and solve. So I would prefer taking out these numbers so that it becomes easy for me to solve. Now the last step for this element 1 is you need to mark element 1 is between which two nodes. If you observe here, element 1 is between node 1 and 2. So I am going to clearly mark over here 1, 2, 1, 2. These are going to indicate that element 1 is between node 1 to 1, 2. Next I will solve for element 2. I will have A2 E upon H2, 1 minus 1 minus 1 1, Here I'll have u1 u2 raised to 2 is equal to p1 p2 raised to 2. When I substitute all the values and I calculate, I get this value as 10 raised to 3 common, 70.68 minus 70.68. These are the values. Then I get u1 u2 raised to 2 is equal to p1 p2 raised to 2. Again I'll mark element 2 is between node 2 and 3. So 2 3 and 2 3. Last I'll write down for element 3. I have A3 E upon H3, 1 minus 1 minus 1 1, u1 u2 raised to 3 is equal to p1 p2 raised to 3. When I solve this, I get a 10 raised to 3 common again, and the value is 706.85. When I multiply, I will get this kind of a matrix. Element 3 is between node 3, 4, 3, 4. So this is how you are supposed to form all the element matrix equation for the given number of elements. Next, I'll go for step 3. Step 3 is development of GME. That is, I'm going to form the global matrix equation from the individual element matrix equations. Now, if you have observed, for all the 3 elements, I had a 10 raised to 3 common. So, on the left hand side, I have a 10 raised to 3 common. Now, how am I supposed to form the GME? For that, I am going to observe this diagram. If you look carefully, I have 4 nodes. So, my matrix is going to be a 4 by 4 matrix. This is something which you can just take it, and henceforth you can use it for solving the other numericals as well. That is, every body has to be divided into nodes, and whatever is the highest number of node, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, you will be making the order, that is m into n, as the highest number of node multiplied twice, which means if it is 4 nodes, 4 by 4, if it is 5 node, it will be 5 by 5, if it is 6 nodes, it will be 6 by 6. So here it is 4 nodes maximum, so I am going to have a 4 by 4 matrix. Now just observe, I am going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have marked all the 4 nodes. You can mark it either on this side or on this side. It is your choice. I'll start by observing the first element. Here I can see the first element is between node 1, 2, 1, 2. So if I observe 1, 2, 1, 2 is here. So these are the 4 positions where I'm going to place these elements. So I start with 1, 1 being 1256.63. 1, 2 is minus 1256.63. 2, 1 is minus 1256.63, and 2, 2 is 1256.63. Next, I'll go for element 2. I can observe for element 2, 2, 2 is the first element, and the value is 70.68. So here I am going to place at 2, 2, that is plus 70.68. Next, I have 2, 3 is minus 70.68. So at 2, 3, I am going to write minus 70.68. Next, I am going to have 3, 2. You can observe the matrix. 3, 2 is minus 70.68. And last one, 3, 3 is 70.68. And here if I observe, I have again 3, 3 as 706.85. So 3, 3 is here. So I'll write down plus 706.85. 3, 4. 3, 4 is minus 706.85. 4, 3. Again 4, 3 is here. Minus 706.85. And 4, 4. That is, at this position I have 706.85. Now if you observe carefully, these terms are not present because between 1, 3 there is no element. Between 1, 4 there is no element directly. So I am going to write a 0 over here. At the positions where there is no element, write a 0. On this side, I'll have, for the first element, you can see it as U1, second element U2, for third element U3, and for fourth element, it is U4, is equal to, here I have P1, P2, P3 and P4. So this is how I am supposed to make the GME. Now if you observe carefully, while drawing the discretization diagram, I had clearly marked the node as 1, 2, 3, 4 and not in any haphazard manner. Today I am going to tell you what happens when you write the nodes in order. If you observe this GME now, you can see that I have all the elements towards the center, or it is towards the diagonal. This is my diagonal. If you observe, if this is my diagonal, these three elements and these three elements are very close to the diagonal. If you can see clearly, I have this element 1, 1, I have 2, 2, I have 3, 3 and 4, 4. These are the diagonal elements. You can observe this element 1, 2, I have 2, 3 and I have this element 3, 4 which are very close to the diagonal, and I have these three elements which are again close to the diagonal, which means when I am going to arrange these matrices in the RAM, they are going to be placed in these three vertical stacks. And these zeros can be something which are just eliminated because they are towards the periphery or towards the corner of the matrix. Had I not taken the order as 1, 2, 3, 4 and I would have just randomly written 1, 3, 2, 4 or 1, 4, 2, 3, something very random, these kind of stacking would not have happened. Now if you observe this, the central line is called as the diagonal, this is called as half bandwidth, and this is called as half bandwidth in the terms of FEA language. And this entire thing together is definitely a bandwidth. So this bandwidth can be easily placed in your RAM of the PC or the computer. So the computation becomes very fast because these values can be just removed out as a garbage value. So it is very important to mark the nodes in a particular order, which is called as topology, and not randomly marking of the nodes. Now comes my step 4, that is imposing of boundary conditions. If you observe, I have variables like U1, U2, U3, U4 and I have load values like P1, P2, P3 and P4. Now it is very important to understand the diagram which is given to me. At node 1, I can see it is fixed. Hence the displacement will be 0. So I can just write down over here, node 1 is fixed. Since node 1 is fixed, according to strength of materials, if you recollect, there will be a reaction load at this point. So this value of P1 is something I need to calculate, hence I am putting a question mark over here. If you observe the fourth node, here there is a load of 15 kilonewton. So P4 can be written as 15 into 10 raised to 3 Newton. Now obviously if there is a load here, there will be maximum displacement at this point which I need to calculate. There is one more thing which you need to remember, that is these terms of displacements are called as primary variable and these terms are called as secondary variable. U2, U3 are the displacement at these 2 points. If there is a load applied here, obviously there will be some displacement at these points. So I can write these as question mark, which means I need to calculate their value. If you observe carefully, we have a 4 by 4 matrix, which means we can form 4 equations using those matrices. If I can form 4 equations, that means I can solve only 4 unknown. This is simple mathematics. If it is so, I have already written my 4 unknown. These are the 2 values which I have to substitute. Only then I will be able to calculate these 4 unknown values. Now, if you observe carefully, P2 and P3 are the points of U2 and U3 node where there are displacement, which means in strength of material you need to calculate some reaction forces such that these displacements are resisted from happening. That is a principle of inertia. But in FEA what we do is we simply write these as 0. This is called as balancing of secondary variables. This is done because there would have been 6 unknown otherwise. If you observe, there are 4 already, 2 more added would make it 6. Hence, I don't have to add 2 more variable when I write these as 0, and I can also simply write them as 0 because in strength of material I would have definitely got some answers. But assuming that there would be least resistance, hence the displacement is taking place. FEA's logic says balancing of secondary variable. This is something which is specific to FEA, specific to this chapter, and something that you need to remember. And as and when required, you use this kind of technique to balance out your unknowns. Now, I would give you a small trick which will help you remember as to how you're supposed to balance out these terms. If you observe, this U1 was 0. This is from the diagram, node 1 is fixed. FEA says that if you know a value at one end, the other end should have a question mark. This is just a trick which you can use. If I have 0 or some number over here, this value is known. Even 0 is a known number. So if one end is known, the other end can have a question mark. Similarly, if you observe, at this fourth node, P4 value was known, so I can take U4 as question mark. These two obviously have to be question mark, because by FEA I cannot assume primary variables as 0. The rule is given only and only for secondary variable. I can only assume these values as 0. So these two have to be question mark. Now these two are question marks, so obviously these two have to be 0. So this is something which you can just use for finding out the value of these unknown variables. Now if you observe this GME, I have already written the equation. These are the values which I have found. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to first mark which values of primary variable are 0. I only know U1 is 0. If U1 is 0, for time being you can just neglect the first row and the first column, and you can work upon these remaining values, because U2, U3, U4 you need to calculate. P2, P3 I have assumed as 0, and P4 value is known to me. So using these three equations, I can calculate these three unknown, and later on, after some time, I can again write the equation for the first one and calculate the value of P1. This is a technique which helps you reduce some time in solving. If you want, you may not use this technique at all. Now I will start with writing down these values and making another matrix. So I'll just copy these down and I'll add them here. 10 raised to 3 is common. The first value is 1327.31. Then I have minus 70.68 and 0. Then I have minus 70.68, 777.53, minus 706.85. Okay, this is 0, minus 706.85 and 706.85. This is the matrix. Here I have U2, U3, U4 which are unknown, and on the right hand side I have 0, 0 and 50 and 10 raised to 3 as a common term. Now I can cancel out the 10 raised to 3 term from both the sides and write down the equation for these terms. So I will have 1327.31 into U2, then next minus 70.68 into U3, and this is 0 is equal to, right hand side is 0. Then I will multiply for the second row, minus 70.68 U2 plus 777.53 U3 and minus 706.85 U4 is equal to 0. For third one, first term is 0, second term is minus 706.85 U3 plus 706.85 U4 is equal to 15. On solving these three equations, I will get the value of U2 as 0.0119 mm, U3 is 0.2241 mm and U4 is 0.2453 mm. So these are the three values that I obtained. Now I am going to revisit my matrix and I am going to write an equation for the first one. If you observe, this will be 1256 into 0, which is 0. Then I have minus 1256.63 into U2. So this equation will be minus 1256.63 into U2. The rest two terms are 0, and here I am going to have only P1. To the left I have 10 raised to 3. So here I have 10 raised to 3 is equal to P1 into 10 raised to 3. I'll get 10 raised to 3 cancelled from both the sides. U2 value is known to me. I get the value of P1 as minus 14.95. The unit obviously will be kilonewton. So this is one answer that I obtained. Next, I am going to go for check. As I have told you previously also, FEA is a self-check method. Always use the check methods to know if your answers are correct. So I'll start with summation of force in x direction is equal to 0. This is static equilibrium condition. I have P1 plus P2 plus P3 plus P4. I'll add them, minus 14.95. P2 and P3 are 0. P4 is 15. When I add them, I get 0.05 kilonewton, which is approximately equal to 0. Hence, I have checked my value and it is correct. Now I need to calculate the stresses in these three elements. The formula is sigma raised to E is equal to E upon HE minus 1, 1, and here I have U1, U2 raised to the element number. So when I am solving for element 1, this is sigma 1, or you can write this E to the bottom also if you want. So this will be sigma 1 for better understanding. The value of E is 2 into 10 raised to 5 upon HE is 200 minus 1, 1, and value is U1, U2, because element 1 is between node 1 and 2. So here I am going to directly write the node numbers because now it is very clear to me. So when I solve this, I get 1000 as the answer. So I multiply inside, and here I have 0 and this is 0.0119. When I am going to multiply, this becomes 0 and here I get plus 11.9. So my answer is 11.9 Newton per mm square. This is my sigma 1. Now since it is positive, it is of tensile type. Next I'll solve for sigma 2. It will be 2 into 10 raised to 5 upon 500 minus 1, 1. It is between node U2 and U3. You can solve this and you'll get the value as 84.82 Newton per mm square. Obviously the body is only subjected to tensile load, so all my stresses are going to be of tensile and positive in nature. Lastly, I'll solve for third element. So I'll write here for element 2 and this is for element 3. This value I obtain as 21.2 Newton per mm square. I hope you can solve this. Element 3 is between node 3 and 4 and this is of tensile nature. This is how the numerical is supposed to be solved. With this I end the session. I hope you have understood the numerical. If you have any doubts, please write to me in the comment section. I'll see you in the next session with another numerical. Thank you.